Well, here we are inside the Osage County Historical Museum, and I think we have a tour guide with us this morning.
Good morning. My name's Garrett Hartness, and I'm here at the Osage County Historical Society Museum in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Glad to show you around. I'd like to say that the building that you're in is the old Santa Fe Depot. It was built here in Pawhuska, Oklahoma in 1923.
Okay.
It closed its doors in 1966, and after it was abandoned, it was given to the city of Pawhuska in hopes that a civic organization would be able to use the building.
Oh,
And
wow.
fortunately, the city of Pawhuska lets the Osage County Historical Society have our museum here.
Okay.
So Osage County is the largest county in the state of Oklahoma, and so we house a lot of different things from a lot of different areas.
I see. Now, is this the original location for the railroad station? I'm not sure that I've seen any signs of a railroad line that would have passed close by the building here, as one would think.
Right. This is the original site.
Wow.
This is basically the original building, though in 2013 we had a small fire in a closet area, a lot of smoke damage. So the building was gutted. An extra area was added onto the building for storage and extra exhibits. But no, this was the Pawhuska Santa Fe Depot.
Great.
The railroad line went right behind us here in the
Okay.
building, and it went
Okay.
north and south to Kansas. And
All right. In my hometown of Amarillo, we have a historic Santa Fe rail line that goes from the Chicago area clear out to Los Angeles, and it's still in use today. As a matter of fact,
Wow,
they keep
very-
enhancing it. It's all double tracked now.
Well, very good. Wish we still had trains here, but unfortunately we don't.
I understand. Okay, so where do we get started?
Well, when you first come into our museum, we have a wonderful gift shop. We do a lot of, really, the main thing is books. Because we carry a lot of historical books, books about the Osage people, Native American people, the ranchers, cowboys, and many other topics and things that go on in Osage County, as well as other books and things that people like to read about.
Yes. Both in hardback and paperback, I see. And
Yes, sir.
probably on all types of interests and educational levels as
Yes,
well.
sir. That is true. We have all kinds. We have ranching cookbooks and histories about families and events that took place.
Yeah.
And as you come into the museum, or one of our first exhibits when you come in is dedicated to Ben Johnson. He was what we call Pawhuska's favorite son because his dad was named Ben Johnson. Everybody called Ben Johnson Jr. son. And he's a world-winning cowboy and a award-winning best supporting actor in the Last Picture Show. So
Yes, as a matter of fact, I wound up working on that movie,
oh,
or
how nice.
partly on the technical crew. I was an electrician way back when that was being made in Archer City, Texas. And I'll have to say that Ben and
Cloris Leachman.
Cloris Leachman, yes.
Cloris Leachman, yeah.
I found out that while working on that movie, of all the movie stars that were there, Ben and Cloris Leachman were real people, regular people. They didn't have bossy attitudes or didn't look down on me or anything like that. They were
Right.
just, honest to goodness, real people, and I so much appreciated that.
Yeah. Well, I've been fortunate to have met Ben Johnson as a small kid, and then later on when I was in college a few times. And every time he was just a regular old person in the crowd
Yes.
or on the street or wherever it
Yeah.
was.
Did
that
you
we
get to
met.
meet Barry Corbin while he was filming Killers Over the Flower Moon?
Yes, Barry
And he is the
his
same
wife
way, isn't he?
came in to the museum.
Oh, wow.
And on a couple occasions they came in, bought several things in the gift shop, and went around and looked. A lot of
Wonderful.
people on the movie Killers of the Flower Moon, actors and people who worked in the different areas. I
Yeah.
was told there was 300 different departments.
Yes.
Came in through the museum because I think they were really interested in the local history.
Yes.
And so that was a good thing for us.
All right.
So we also have a room here that is, we call it the John T. Moncravey Osage Room. This room has most everything in here is something related to Osage, the people, and there are paintings and just different artifacts, clothing, and we have on the wall here is a very interesting set of group of pictures that is. They were taken of the last 8 remaining Osages when they had a special event for them.
Wow.
Unfortunately, one of them passed away a couple of years ago. So that is the last 7 full-blood Osages that are
Wow.
left.
Wow, I'll say.
And then as you come out of the Monte Moncravi room, we have other Native American artifacts. Some of it Osage and some of it from various other nations.
Mm-hmm.
We have, in the case behind you, we have a beautiful and rare beaded, that's a wedding blanket that would go on a horse. That's
Wow.
a really
Yes.
interesting piece of history that they would use.
Yeah.
And then Wendy Ponca, she's a local Osage artist, and we have a couple of blankets. We have a baby blanket and a full-size blanket that she designed for Pendleton,
I see.
and are able to have these on exhibit. She's a great artist.
Ah, so that's the local connection to the Pendleton blankets, which are in the Osage Visitor Center.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now, I don't know that any of hers are, those, they change periodically, so I don't know that hers are
Yes.
still available anymore.
Yes,
But,
I was told that they have some very rare, unique items still left in there. They're probably priced way too high because they wouldn't name any prices or anything in that nature. Which
right. We also have a case here that's dedicated to Maria and Marjorie Tall Chief. They were Osage and were ballerinas, born in Fairfax, Oklahoma, and went out to California as young girls. And of course, the rest is history, with Maria being America's very first prima ballerina and the highest paid ballerina in the world in the 1950s.
Wow.
And Maria Tall Chief, just as famous as well, maybe not so much in the United States as she was in France, but both of them very graceful, beautiful ladies, and very fortunate that they were born right here in Osage County.
Yes, I doubt they got that education from the government Indian school. Makes me curious as to how they were exposed to that type of art and had access to a good teacher.
Right. Yes. Yes. As we have a ramp here, and as you come up it to go up to the next level in our museum, we have a lot of artwork here on the wall that is by a lady by the name of May Todd Aaron. Her husband was one of the very first doctors who came to the Osage country in the late 1800s, and she actually married a doctor as well. She had exhibits in Chicago, New York, Paris, and we have the largest collection of her work. That's not all of the work that we have, but we have the largest collection.
Wow.
Pawhuska is also, if a lot of people don't know, it's where the Boy Scouts all started, was right here in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Now, this was before Boy Scouts of America. We were fortunate enough to have a gentleman who came to Pawhuska in 1909 to be the minister at the Episcopal Church. And he happened to be a chaplain for Baden-Powell, who had just created the Boy Scouts in England in 1908. So when he came to Pawhuska and got off the train, he had with him a satchel full of Boy Scout manuals, some literature and different things like that he brought with him. So he actually created the very first Boy Scouts in America, right here.
Wow.
They were under a British charter. They used the British Boys Scout Manual. Their first uniforms were made in England, and I have read stories from the original 19 Boy Scouts that they would practice marching up and down the streets with their drums and their bugles, singing God Save the King, because that was the song for the Boy Scouts at that time.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't think that would have gone over really well, but what can I say? I know nothing about the culture at that period of time.
Well, like I said, it was all an English thing, though it was spreading like wildfire.
Yes, yeah.
And in 1910, of course, Boy Scouts of America was created, and so we were very fortunate that he happened to come here to
That's
Pawhuska,
incredible.
Oklahoma.
Now, I've heard rumors that the very first troop, which was started right here in Pawhuska, as you just told us, was troop number 1.
Well, at one time, yes, they had number 1, though when they did start Boy Scouts of America,
Okay.
they were not troop number 1 because they didn't join right away.
Oh, okay.
Boy Scouts of America, because they were
Right.
still part of Boy Scouts of England.
I see.
So they came in later, and our troop numbers were 30, or I think they're 33, and we have 2 troops here, 33 and 36, I think. And I should
see.
know that, but
Okay. Okay. Well, that's an interesting story in itself.
And then we have, just some cases that have some really unique things, like some old books and toys. Really neat case over here that has a lot of old cameras, types of light bulbs, and typewriters.
Yes. I bet there's a lot of youngsters out there have never seen or used a typewriter.
Well, I'm sure there's probably not.
I had plenty of finger touching experience with those things while I was in journalism school.
Right.
Really,
Yes.
and then the IBM's electric typewriters came out, and I immediately switched.
When I was in high school, we had a typing class, and we only had about 6 electric typewriters in the class, and all the rest of them were manuals.
Yeah.
And so I was one of the first ones to get on the electric one. Well, you only were on it for so long, and then you had to get off and let somebody else get on the electric one. Well, of course, my typing technique just went down in the hole because
Yes.
it was just,
Yeah.
so different and
It is
difficult
different, yeah.
to switch. And so anyway,
Like playing the piano, you learn how to coordinate those fingers and
Right.
strengthen up those muscles and ligaments in a way that you just don't on computer
Right.
keyboards and electric typewriters, for sure. Messes up your rhythm.
And then there's a lot of other just like farming utensil things that are very interesting too as well for people to see, especially young people. And I have to also say that older people really kind of enjoy things that maybe they saw their grandparents use or different
Yeah.
things like that.
Yes. Just sort of as a side note, I've noticed that there's a lot of forested areas, lots of trees in this area. But one thing that really struck me is that most of the trees don't look all that terribly old.
Yeah, that's true.
I suspect that there was a time when a lot of trees were being cut down for building structures and even in some cases improving roads back when. This gets to be kind of muddy country. I've already experienced that. And I know that many times trees were used to help improve roadways so that the wagons would not sink down into the clay soil and get caught up
Right.
in the
Bogged
wagon
down.
wheels and get all bogged down. Right.
Yeah. But also too in this country as well, this was really a lot of buffalo country back in those early days. So
Yes.
there wasn't much trees. When you look at the old pictures and things, now around the creeks and things like that,
Okay.
yes, there were trees.
Okay.
But you know, the buffalo pretty much, you know, any young trees that were
They will
growing,
eat young trees,
they
right.
would eat, you know, the tops
Right.
off of those.
Plus the elk and
Yes.
the deer, they will eat up those young plants too. Yes.
So yeah, when you're really looking at a
Yeah.
lot of the wooded areas that you see today,
Yes.
when you really look closely, you'll find out that the trees are not very big, so they're not all that
Yes,
old.
and some of them are not indigenous to this part of the country. I've noticed that as well. I suspect, I haven't been up there yet, but probably the prairie tall grass area that is just north of Pawhuska would be a good example of the way the land used to be.
Yes,
Okay.
it would be.
I have
Absolutely.
got to check it out before I leave this week.
Yes, it's a must see if you're in the area.
And it looks like there's memorabilia from probably some
have-
military history, World War One.
Yes.
It looks like here, maybe World War II down here.
Well, one thing that we have just right back here on this other case, before we go on into this next area,
Okay.
is that Major General Clarence Tinker was born here.
Oh.
And the first Native American general, he was on a mission in the Pacific when his plane went down, and he was never found. But we have a few items of his, like his goggles, a couple of other things that we have, and
Okay.
and also his he had a son that also died in World War II. Excuse me. I also want to point out too that Tinker Air Force Base here in Oklahoma
yes.
was named after.
Yes,
Major
and that's
General
out of
Clarence
Oklahoma City, isn't it?
Yes, sir. And a lot of little unique things here from World War I, II in the case, some of the little helmets and things that were brought back by
yeah.
different people. Gives you a little look-see of some things, maybe an item too of World War II as well
Oh, yeah.
in there.
Wow, look at that saddle. Much like the saddle that was used by the Buffalo soldiers.
Yes.
I've got
Yes.
a video from Wallace, Kansas, where there were some Buffalo soldiers came down to give some living history demonstrations, one thing and another. And I had one of them point out all the accoutrements that would be on a Buffalo soldier's horse. And of course, the saddle's part of that.
That's very
Very
interesting.
interesting. So
Yeah.
you guys go take a look at that. I'll try to give you a link right about here.
So we have also something that's very unique here in the Osage country is all the different brands of people that had ranches here.
Okay.
You know, that was a large part of the Osage people's income when they first came here before the oil was the leasing of the tall grass because the guys who were on the cattle drives from Texas loved to bring their cattle here, and they could fatten up so much faster.
Yes.
And then they'd take them on into Kansas after that. So many of them leased thousands of acres to come up
Okay.
here
Okay.
and
Even
feed their
though
cattle.
all of Osage County belonged to the Osage Nation,
Yes.
I've always been kind of curious. Well, how did so many white people wind up here?
Well,
On an Indian reservation, I don't see that out west, and with the Navajo, the Hopi, the Apache. I mean, they are indigenous peoples on their indigenous lands, pretty much.
well, with the Osage, you know, there was the oil,
Yeah.
like I said, you know, the grassland that was here that
Yes.
you know they made income off of,
Okay.
and then that was dispersed to
Okay.
all the members of the tribe at that time. They hadn't
Right.
closed the roll yet or made a roll
Okay.
at that particular time. So.
Okay. Did any of those peoples ever start up ranches or ranching
Yes.
operations of their own?
Yes, some Osages had big, nice ranches
Oh,
here, and there's some who still have their family's original allotments. You know, when
Wow.
they did their allotment, There are some who still have that original allotment.
Oh, I would love to meet with some of those people someday. I know I'm going to have to come back to this area because there is so much I do not know about the Osage people that I just want to dive into.
It is a fascinating story, unlike any other. A lot of, Native American nations and stuff, were moved and relocated and all that kind of thing, but none of them really got the wealth like the Osage did.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was really just that moment in time of how things worked out.
Yes.
Because when they were coming here to the Osage, their original reservation when they were leaving Kansas was really only 50 miles long and about 16 miles wide.
Oh, my.
And so that wasn't very big at all.
Yes.
But then just through some strange incidences that they were able to get, what they first had was, I think, about 600,000 acres.
Yeah.
They got 1 million and I think 400,000, close to 1.5 million acres.
Right.